And then when Krishna would go out with all the calves and the cowherd boys the next day, they would just perform their leelas exactly. Every cowherd boy was reciprocating with Krishna, but the cowherd boys were Krishna, and Krishna was the cowherd boys and the calves. And they were performing the same leelas and games together. And then they'd come home. And this beautiful experience took place for 1 year. Vrindavan is Chintamani Dham, the place where all our desires to love and to serve Krishna are fulfilled. Each of the mother cows and the mother gopis got to share the experience of having Krishna as their own child for 1 year. And according to the Garga Samhita, at that time, inconceivably by Krishna's arrangement, young gopis got married to the young gopas. And the young gopis wanted Krishna as their husband, and they all got Krishna as their husband for a year. Shri Krishna Bhagavan Ki Jai. This way, Krishna manifested himself as everyone's. About 5 or 6 days before the year ended, Balaram and Krishna and all the gopas and calves, they were near Govardhan Hill. And cows were on the top of the hill with the elder cowherd men. When those cows saw their calves, they were so overwhelmed with motherly affection, they ran down the hill as if they had just 2 sets of legs. They were galloping down the hill. And it was a very, very rough terrain. The cowherd men were very concerned. What's going to happen to these cows? They could hurt themselves. And meanwhile, as their love for their little calves was increasing, their milk bags were increasing, and milk was nectarine, love milk was pouring out of their udders. And when they finally reached their little calves, they were licking them, and the calves, so eager for the mother's loving milk, was sucking. All the calves were Krishna personally himself. And most incredible thing that Balaram was seeing is that these cows had younger calves. The older calves didn't need to drink their milk. It was the young calves. But the cows didn't care about giving their milk to the little calves. They were so overwhelmed with affection for the older calves. And suddenly Balaram was thinking, for this whole year, I never really connected to this reality. That all the mothers of the gopas and all the mothers of the calves, I've never seen them love their children so much. They love their children exactly the way they love Krishna. How is this? Krishna's Yogamaya potency, when he wants to increase the sweetness of his Leela, even covers Balaram, who's not different than himself as his first expansion. And Balaram was wondering, how is this happening? How is it that I'm just noticing it now? And then he came to the realization, the conclusion, the only way this is possible is Krishna has personally become each calf and gopa, just to fulfill the innermost heart's desire of every cow and mother. And they asked Krishna, tell me why, tell me how, tell me who's responsible. And Krishna explained everything about Lord Brahma. Meanwhile, 5 or 6 days later, when exactly 1 year had passed, It was Balaram Jayanti again, so Balaram was not there. And Brahma decided to come and see what kind of confusion he created in Vrindavan. For Brahma, it's one moment. One moment for Brahma's time is 1 year by earthly time. When Brahma came down, he was shocked. He saw all the gopas and all the calves with Krishna. How is this possible? I put all these calves and gopas to sleep. He went back to the place and saw that they were still sleeping. Then he came back to Vrindavan and saw that they were all still with Krishna. And he went back and saw they were sleeping. He was saying, Krishna, what's happening? Am I dreaming? Are the real gopas and calves in the cave, or on the real gopas and calves with Krishna, or vice versa? He couldn't figure out. You see, the more intelligent you are, the more bewildered you become when you can't understand things. Simple people, when they don't understand things, they just kind of flow with their own inabilities. But people who really are very intellectual and very philosophical and very, very adept at reasoning and logic, when they can't understand things, it becomes very traumatic. Well, for Brahma, this was really traumatic. Because he wanted to, with his powers as the creator of this universe, he wanted to see what he could do in Vrindavan. And what he saw is he did absolutely nothing. Impossible. And as he was becoming more and more and more confused, Krishna, out of his love for Brahma, wanted to confuse him even more. Right in front of Brahma's 8 eyes, every one of those little calves and cowherd boys manifested the form of Narayan with 4 arms, holding the conch shell and the disc and the club and the lotus flower. Each one had a complexion like a rain cloud with beautiful golden ornaments, and each one had the Kaustubhamani and Shrivats on chest. And when Krishna wants to show his mercy to his devotee, what Krishna can do. Brahma saw, now here there are unlimited Narayans standing before him. And around each and every one of those Narayans, he saw all living beings. He saw Brahmas and Shivas and Naradas and Devas and humans and animals. He saw all the different creative potencies and the modes of material nature in personified forms, in circles, on incredible vast circles around each and every form of the Lord, chanting hymns. And at this point, Lord Brahma, he was practically unconscious. He was Vimohan, totally bewildered, absolutely conquered. He was speechless. He didn't know who he was, or where he was, or what he was. He was thinking himself so great and powerful that he could play tricks with Krishna, but now he realized that his potency was like the power of snow to produce light in the pitch black darkness of the night. Or like a little firefly. At Gita Nagari, you have so many lightning bugs. And if you see at night When I was at Gita Nagari during those most blessed and precious days in the service of Braja Leela Devi and Ekavir Prabhu, in helping to do some seva for Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj. Sometimes I would go back at night and look at the lightning bugs. There's thousands and thousands, especially in moonless nights. And each one is going, tsh, tsh, and they just, it looks like they're lighting up the sky. Srimad Bhagavatam compares Brahma to this. In the pitch darkness, a firefly really thinks, I am illuminating the universe. But when the sun comes out, the lightning bug realizes, I am totally insignificant. Even though the lightning bug is putting as much wattage and voltage into that little light, nobody sees him, nobody cares because the sun is present. So we can only become proud when we're forgetful of Krishna. Krishna Surya Sam Maya Haya Andhakar. Krishna is like the light of the sun, and Maya is like darkness. The false ego, ahankar, is only possible when there is ignorance. And this is a testimony of what our actual position is in spiritual life. Sometimes we want to somehow or other boast or show our greatness before others. But for people who are a little Krishna conscious, the more you do that, the more they realize you are in the darkness of ignorance. Like a little firefly trying to show off your light. But when we actually understand the infinite sun of Krishna's light, Krishna's qualities, we take so much pleasure in Krishna's infinite qualities, we don't have to boast about ourselves. We don't have to prove anything to anyone else. We're just happy in any situation. If Krishna wants us to serve, like Shamananda Pandit, by sweeping the pathways in a forest, if he wants us washing the pots or cutting sabjis, or if he wants us giving lectures to thousands of people or leading kirtans or managing zones, whatever we do, we're just the servant of the servant of the servant. We have nothing to prove to anyone. That's knowledge. Brahma realized he was totally insignificant. In this regard, Srila Prabhupada tells a story. Little later, when Krishna was in Dwarka, Brahma came to visit him. And the doorkeeper asked, "Who are you?" He said, "I am Brahma, the father of the universe. I've come to see Krishna." And the doorkeeper announced his arrival. And Krishna said, "Ask him which Brahma." That's quite humbling. And he said, "The four-headed Brahma." Krishna said, "Call him in." And Brahma asked, "Why did you ask which Brahma?" He said, "You want to know?" And then Krishna called other Brahmas, and thousands of Brahmas came. And every one of them were so much bigger and greater than this little Brahma. The Chaitanya Charitamrita says that our Brahma, in the presence of these other Brahmas, felt like a mosquito in a herd of gigantic elephants. And Krishna told Brahma, "Now you go and you do your seva." But understand, we're all just Jivara Swarupoi Krishnara Nityadas. So Brahma was so perplexed, so bewildered as he was seeing all living beings gathered around infinite Vishnus. And suddenly, when he was paralyzed in bewilderment, Krishna took the veil of Yogamaya away, and all the Vishnus, everyone disappeared, and all that was left was Krishna, standing just as he was exactly a year before, with some yogurt and rice and little fruit in his hand, looking for the calves. Lord Brahma looked around at the forest of Vrindavan, and he saw because he was completely purified of any ego, he now could see Vrindavan for what it really was. He saw each tree as a beautiful Kalpavriksha tree. He saw the nectaring flowing waves of the Yamuna, the river of the spiritual world. He saw ecstasies of love of God in total consciousness in every element of Vrindavan, every grain of dust as Chintamani, touchstone. He saw that because there was no envy between anyone, due to everyone's common love for Krishna, everyone loved each other. Even in this forest, the tigers and the deers were in love with each other. Where there's Krishna consciousness, there's love for each other on the true spiritual platform. That is the testimony of real Krishna consciousness. If we're competing and fighting with any envy in our heart, that means we're like those little lightning bugs, fireflies in the darkness of the ignorance of ego. But Brahma was illuminated. His ego was cleansed totally, and now he could actually see Vrindavan as it is. Previously, he came down, he wasn't seeing Vrindavan as it is. He was seeing who he was and what he could do. But now, Vrindavan was revealed. The spiritual world, Chintamani Dham, the land of the most intimate, purest love. He was intoxicated. And he was seeing with full realization that the absolute truth, the source of all incarnations, the creator, maintainer, and destroyer of all that exists in his original, most munificent form, is Krishna, a little cowherd boy who's still now he's just entering from 5 to 6 years old. Lord Brahma, he came off of his swan carrier and offered his dandavats. Srila Prabhupada explains, dandavat means when you fall like a stick. Prabhupada said, it doesn't mean you just say dandavat. It means you actually do dandavat. And it doesn't mean just doing it with your body. Because, those of us who've been around devotees for a while, we know some people, they do their dandavats because, they have something to gain by doing it. But actual dandavats is with the body, the mind, the words, and the heart. To actually humble oneself to the presence of God within the heart of other living beings. Lord Brahma, he came down and fell down like a stick in the land of Vrindavan. Srimad Bhagavatam tells us that generally the devatas never touch the ground of the earth. But here the king of the king of the king of all devas was laying in the dust of Vrindavan and put all of his heads against Krishna's feet and was weeping tears. His tears were flowing like an abhishek upon Krishna's beautiful, beautiful lotus-like feet. And Brahma came up and offered beautiful prayers. Krishna did not say a word, because Krishna, in the role of a little cowherd boy, really made Brahma seem insignificant. It was like, who are you? I'm a cowherd boy. I'm looking for my calves. Why have you come to disturb me? And Brahma offered beautiful prayers. He glorified the beauty of Krishna's body, whose complexion like a wonderful monsoon rain cloud, lotus-like eyes, beautiful peacock feather, the Gunjamala, the Kaustubhamani, Srivats decorating his beautiful chest. The source of all beauty, the source of all sweetness, the source of everything attractive. And how the Lord incarnates again and again in this world out of his causeless mercy in so many ways and so many forms just to attract our hearts. And how Krishna manifested this beautiful Vrindavan Lila just to attract our hearts from the causes of the miseries of our material desires and attachments. And how merciful Krishna was to him, that just to cleanse him of his ego, just to cleanse him of his illusion, Krishna manifested this incredible, wonderful pastime. Tatena kampam susamikshamano. When Krishna tests or challenges the devotees, if that devotee can simply with folded palms offer obeisances with gratitude and humility, awaiting Krishna's mercy even through the most difficult trials and tribulations, that person is the rightful heir to the supreme liberation of prema bhakti. Brahma realized the supreme glory of Vrindavan. In his prayer, he was expressing to Krishna how some worship you as Supreme Brahman, some worship you in Vaikuntha as the majestic Lord of all lords. Some through the yogic process, they try to cleanse themselves of all desires and become peaceful. But here in Vrindavan, the gopas and the gopis and the cows and the calves, they intimately love you as a friend, as a child, as a lover, and how you intimately reciprocate with their love. Brahma's realization that this little form of Gopal is the supreme source of everything that exists and the highest revelation of the absolute truth. And the only way to achieve connection with Gopal is through bhakti, through love, through devotion. Brahma prayed to give up his high post, which is the cause of so much bewilderment. And he prayed that he could take his next birth in any form, in any place in Vrindavan. He especially prayed, let me be a little piece of stone, or let me take birth as an insignificant blade of grass, hoping that any of the maidservants or servants or any of the devotees of Vrindavan will place their feet on my head. Because if the dust of the feet of any of the residents of Vrindavan come upon my head, then I will be blessed that someday I could also experience the intimacy of the love that they have for you. Brahma didn't pray for Krishna's feet to be on his head. He didn't just pray for Radharani's feet to be on his head. He prayed for the calves, the cows, the gopas, the servants of the gopas, the peacocks, any of them, any one of them. Let their feet be on my head so I can adopt the mood of the love of the residents of Vrindavan. In this prayer, Lord Brahma revealed the supremacy of Vrindavan Dham. Sanatana Goswami explains that Brahma had no power to steal Krishna's calves or gopas. Just like Ravana had no power to steal Sita. By Ram's arrangement, he created a Maya Sita, an expansion of the real Sita for Ravana to take. In the same way, when Brahma came to steal the calves and the little cowherd boys, as soon as he came, Krishna covered over with Yoga Maya the real calves and the real gopas, and simultaneously manifested Maya calves and gopas, and Brahma stole them. And the real calves and the real gopas, they remained exactly where they were, but they couldn't be seen by anyone due to the curtain of Yoga Maya. After Brahma surrendered to Krishna and prayed to be a blade of grass in Vrindavan, he begged Krishna's forgiveness. And Krishna didn't say anything to him. Krishna was just holding his little lump of yogurt and rice in his hand, looking around. But in doing so, Brahma understood that I'm not qualified yet to be a blade of grass in Vrindavan. Krishna wants me to go back to my abode of Brahmaloka to continue my duties, and in a future life I could be a blade of grass in Vrindavan. Brahma circumambulated Krishna 3 times, offered his obeisances, and left for his abode. After he was gone, Krishna lifted the curtain of Yoga Maya, and the original calves that were eating the grasses and the pastures, they manifested. And Krishna took all of them and went back to the bank of the Yamuna, and there were all of his cowherd boyfriends waiting for him. And when Krishna came back with all the calves, the cowherd boys were so happy, they were all laughing. They said, "Krishna, how possibly could you come back so soon? You went to find all the calves not even 1 moment ago. And you've come, and we couldn't eat anything in your absence, so we haven't even taken a morsel of food, so please come and eat with us." Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that a year passed. The children had grown somewhat substantially. The calves had grown too. But for them, that year passed as if it was a moment by the power of Yoga Maya. And meanwhile, for all the rest of the Brijavasis, a full year passed where Krishna was reciprocating with their love as their own child. And Krishna sat down with all the gopas, and they continued enjoying, laughing, joking, smiling, reciprocating love as they took their prasad. And they played for the rest of the day. Then they all came back into Vrindavan together, playing their flutes and their horns, and the cows welcomed the calves, and the elderly gopis and gopas welcomed the little gopas. And as they came into the village, all the cowherd boys were singing the glories of Krishna. How today Krishna liberated this giant serpent named Aghasura. And the Brijabasis, oh, tell us all about this. Yes, it just happened a few hours ago. He came and he was so big, his tongue was like a road, and we danced inside, and Krishna liberated him. And then on the way home, his whole body was dried up, and we were playing in his body. When Parikshit Maharaj heard this, he was struck with wonder. He asked Sukadeva Goswami, how is it possible that anyone could love someone else's child more than their own? This is contradictory to human nature. Because in the material sense of love, when we identify ourselves with our body is very, very important. Because the body is what we identify with as who is loving and who is being loved. And without the body, there can really be no relationship of love. So the body is the most important thing for most people. But on the spiritual platform, we understand we're the eternal soul. And Krishna is the source of all souls. He is Sarvatma. Every soul is part and parcel of Krishna. So for the gopis and for the residents of Vrindavan, the reason we love anyone is because of our inherent love for Krishna. And in Krishna, the full potential, the full capacity of all our love can be expressed forever. And in that love for Krishna, we could have the most intimate, sweetest, deepest love for our family members and for every living being forever, because we identify ourselves in our relation with Krishna. It is this state that is beyond birth, beyond death. In this state, even sorrow, even anxiety is ecstasy, because it's an expression of our love for Krishna. And Shukadeva Goswami, after speaking this beautiful story of Krishna and the Gopas returning to Vrindavan, he gives a benediction that anyone who sincerely hears this pastime, all of their spiritual desires will be fulfilled. It was this story that Srila Prabhupada so intimately gave us in his very last days here in Sri Vrindavan Dham. Please do read that section of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada's purports are so deep, so personal, and so incredible. In one place, he talks about bhakti, how it affects people. He says in our Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan, when we first started construction, there was a very old, sickly, withered up little tamal tree. But after the devotees started hearing and chanting and rendering so much loving devotional service in the area of that tree, now that tree is flourishing with health and has grown to cover an entire section of our courtyard. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us it becomes a flourishing tree. And on that tree ripens the sweetest of all fruits, this fruit of Krishna Prema. And when that fruit is offered at the feet of Krishna, then the gardener, the devotee, when he tastes the sweetness of that fruit, he finds the highest happiness forever. And while in this world, the greatest motivation of that devotee is to please Krishna by distributing the sweetness of this fruits to everyone, everywhere. This is our prayer. This is our gratitude. This is our life. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Jai Jai Sri Radhe.